All right, so welcome everybody. We're going to get going in about a minute to 2 minutes. I can see the room is still piling in with like loads of people. So what I want you to do, I thought fun today, instead of writing in where you're from, which is what we normally do, I thought let's write in what kind of member of the community are you? Are you a subscriber? Are you a business class member? Are you a first class member? Are you a private client? Are you a founders or prestige ticket holder from our summit? Let me know in the chats who we've got in here. I kind of want to see the different levels of everybody that's joining while we wait for the rest of the room to fill up here. Let's see. Okay, we've got a subscriber, investor, first class, and chat is disabled. Yes, chat is definitely disabled. Ryan, that's why I'm saying use the Q&A. Subscriber to the email. Awesome. First class, private client, hub member, prestige from Summit. Yes. Founders. Hey, Nicole, I'll see you guys this afternoon for dinner, I think. Yeah. Here we go. First class. Ooh, lots of first class here. Private client, friend. There we go. Everybody's a friend. First class, private client, founder, Christopher's, Craig. Hey, Craig, how's your son? I got an email yesterday, or I was talking to someone yesterday. I'm going to send you an email this weekend and check on you, see how things are going. Terry says hub member. Harry says private client. Okay, cool. We've got a whole mix in here. So we've got, looks like some new people, some business class hub members, lots of first class, tons of first class, and then a bunch of private clients as well. Okay, before we jump in today, I'd want to do a couple of housekeeping activities for you, and then I promise we're going to get going. Okay, number one is I want you to turn off your phone for now. I'm going to give you a contradictory instruction later on. But for right now, no doom scrolling, no checking your SMS, none of this kind of stuff, okay? Just put it aside, put it on silent. Number two, if you have a spouse or decision maker in the house, please go and get them. This is going to be a big presentation. We've got so much to cover today, and you're going to be really, really excited. And if after the presentation, you try to tell them everything you've learned over the last couple of hours in a 5-minute whirlwind of a conversation, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. So if you have a spouse or decision maker in the house, I'm trying to save your marriage and make you not look like a crazy person. So go and grab them, bring them, and make them watch it because this is going to be awesome. Okay. Number three, we are going to take a bathroom break in about an hour and 5 minutes from now, something like that. So if you need to use the bathroom, I just hope that you will wait because I don't want you to miss any of this presentation. So we will schedule that in. The agenda for today is I'm going to hand over to my colleague and very dear friend, Kiley Herold, in just 2 minutes. She's going to give an amazing presentation, and I'm going to come back at the end and add a little bit more flavor and explain a little bit about the ethos and why this is so important to me and to our community, okay? From there, we're going to take a bathroom break, as I said, for 5-6 minutes, something like that. Then Kiley and I will come back. We're going to do a little fireside chat. I want to discuss some of the ideas with her, talk a little bit more about the history, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. We're going to do Q&A for as long as you guys want us to do a Q&A. I've got my whole morning blocked off for this. My daughter is supposed to do test for her green belt. We scheduled it for late in the day so that, yes, I'm very excited. She's getting her green belt today, so I'm pumped about that. But that's not until 2 p.m. So I got literally all morning, all afternoon. If you guys want to stay on for 3 hours today, I'm here. I'm yours. If you want to stay on for half of that time, it's up to you. However long there's questions being asked, I want to make sure you guys get the answers. So those are the big housekeeping things. Turn off your phone, get the decision maker. There is a bathroom break, and we're going to do a Q&A at the end. You're going to use the Q&A function just like you told me what level of member you're in. You're going to use that one. Yes, the chat is disabled. That's on purpose. It's not a mistake. It's the Q&A, and then I can make sure that I answer the questions and group them together to be efficient. Kiley, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Cool. So, everybody, this is Kiley Herold. If you haven't met Kiley, she's an American living here in Panama. She's also one of my very dear friends. She's one of my best friends here. Her kids and my kids play together. Me and her husband are friends. Our whole families are very, very close. She works for Grupos Dos Pueblos, the main developer I work with in Panama that I've bought millions upon millions of dollars worth of real estate for my own portfolio is all done with GLP. The owner of the company is one of my best friends. He's like a big brother to me. He's 10 years older than me. He's like my big brother I never had. So I come to him and I look up to him a lot. So when I was looking at doing a really, really special presentation, which I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but when I was looking to do a really special project, excuse me, I went to GLP, I went to Alfredo, and we've been sitting down and planning this out for close to 2 years. So, Kiley, I will mute myself. I'm going to turn off my video. I'm going to hand over the presentation to you, and I will see you back here in 45 minutes, 45-minute ish. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Amazing.
Okay. Hi, guys. It's so fun to see. I didn't know that you had the function you could actually see who's here. I know so many of these names. I'm excited. This is a project that is brand new. It was created just for you guys. You're the first ones to have eyes on it. No one else even knows that it exists yet. So let's get into it. Mm. Okay, I'm going to start up here and we're going to work our way down. Yeah. So Republic of Panama. I have lived in Panama for the last 10 years. I love it. It's my home. It's a soft enough landing for a lot of North Americans coming. If you're going to relocate, there's a lot of incentives to be here, whether it's for businesses, for residency, for a lot of other factors. But it's also become this massive global hub. So it's right in the middle of North and South America. And we have the US dollar as our currency. And because of a lot of basically pro-business regulations, it's kept Panama open, and it's just, I mean, we're just growing. The canal is a part of it, but it's not all of it. Yeah. So facts about Panama. Country, I always make the joke when we're here in Panama, like, oh, if you found us, then you know that we're a country in Central America because you ended up here. Panama City is the capital. Um, Within Panama, so there's about 4 million people that live in Panama, just over. About 1.5 of those live in Panama City. Yeah. So space-wise, it's a very small country and it basically goes east to west. You can go from the Caribbean to the Pacific in about an hour and 15-minute drive, depending on who's driving. Me, it's probably like an hour and a half, an hour 45. Um, but it's very small. You can drive basically east to west within, let's say, 7 to 8 hours. So the whole country is not that big, but you have these different really cool like microclimates all within Panama. You have this very like bustling metropolitan major city, and then you can get out into the weeds of like eco, green. There's more birds and fish and butterflies in Panama than there is of all North America combined. Yeah. So we kind of have all these different layers to Panama. The currency is the US dollar. We have these little, if you come here and you start spending cash, you're going to at some point get what's called a balboa. It looks like a dollar, but they've changed it now, but it's a balboa, but the balboa is tied to the dollar. Okay. And politically, there's 10 provinces with 5 indigenous territories. Yeah. Government-wise, one of the things that I really like about Panama is you have 5 different major parties, but none of them have too big of differentiations in like the large issues. So usually people will run on things like, oh, we're going to put more money towards infrastructure or we're going to put more money towards tourism. But the hot button topics that everyone coming from North America and Europe, what those elections run on, it doesn't really exist in Panama. It's been a very historically conservative country. It's still very Catholic at its core. So those issues, I mean, they're not even on the docket. Yeah. So a lot of the big issues here that people run on will be where are the funds going, education, infrastructure, tourism, those types of things. Yeah. Advantages of Panama. So these are just a few. Um, but it's really a strategic location. I kind of touched on that earlier. It connects everything. It connects everything. It connects North and South America. We I think have now a direct flight to Turkey. I mean, you can basically get anywhere you need to be flying out of Tocumen International Airport. And right now we have the first two wings of that airport open. They're actually starting on the third one. The land's already purchased and it's they're starting to move ground on it. Yeah. So the stable economy, Panama has historically kept its stores open and they've been very tax friendly, meaning very low taxes. Um, so for that reason, more and more and more and more companies are either relocating their head offices or they're moving their nearshoring offices or they're moving their regional offices to Panama. In one specific area of Panama, we have over, it's like 170 different multinationals in just that one specific area. It's kind of hard to keep track of because basically every month we have a group chat internally here and you're sending kind of like updates in news, you're sending on like what's going on in the country, and more or less every week someone passes on a new article about more companies that are moving those head offices. You have Anheuser-Busch that just announced. I mean, all the big ones are really here because they've kept it very, very pro foreign investment friendly. And from a tax perspective for both the companies and for the employees, it's really, really attractive. Yeah. Apart from that, world-class infrastructure. So world-class infrastructure, especially when you compare it to the surrounding regions, not just that, but we're going through a little bit of some growing pains right now. And they're good growing pains because the government's putting something like $2 billion towards, there has already been a highway expansion. So the main highway in Panama is the Pan American Highway that runs all the way up from Alaska down through Patagonia. And that part that runs through Panama, that basically takes you out of Panama City toward like both ways, towards the airport, but then also towards the beach areas. When I moved here 10 years ago, that was a two-lane highway. It was literally a two-lane highway. There were no gas stations. If you had to go to the bathroom, you either held it or you got really comfortable going on the side of the road. I have taken multiple of you guys on tours, and the happiness that I get from now seeing those gas stations because you can stop and get a snack and like just how far Panama has come in 10 years is really, really amazing to see. So the highway expansion, it went from 2 lanes to 8 lanes. Yeah. In some places it's wider. But to connect to that highway, so to connect to the highway expansion, you have a few different things. You have another bridge that's coming in. So right now there's technically three, but really two usable bridges. You have Cinquentenario and you have the Bridge of the Americas. They're already in process of building a third bridge, which will connect that highway, right? Because leaving Panama City, you need to leave either through a bridge or through a metro. Um, so it's still bottlenecks right now at the bridges. So you have the bridge, the highway expansion, you have a metro line. So the metro line is going to go under the canal. You have the bridge that will go over, and you have a metro line that will go under. And then you have a train that's actually going to go all the way across the country. Yeah. So you have the highway expansion, the new bridge, the metro line, and a train. Yeah. Which, I mean, name a country where there's more infrastructure going in. Yeah. So, like I said, a little bit of growing pains because there's a little traffic with the construction and things like that. But when you can see it getting better, especially like I said, from the 10 years that I've been here, I mean, it's worth it. Yeah. And path of progress, always follow the path of progress. Not to mention, I think I take this for granted a little bit now, but I'm originally from Nebraska. And Nebraska, you can get all 4 seasons in 1 week, right? My mom used to joke that I would like live out of my car because I had an umbrella, a jacket, a winter coat, everything in the back of my car because you didn't know what you were going to get. Panama, what's wonderful about Panama is, I mean, it's a warm climate all year round. So it varies slightly based off of its rainy season or if it's dry season or summer. But in terms of temperature and humidity and those types of things, I mean, pretty stable. The humidity changes with the rainy season and dry season, but there's hardly a day where it's 12 hours raining, if that makes sense. It's usually, even in rainy season, Really nice and sunny in the mornings. You'll get a nice rain over lunch, and then in the afternoon it clears up again. My kids are outside every evening playing in the park. And then our summer is just absolutely beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. I mean, it's like a dream, really. And then safety and quality of life. This is also something I think I now take for granted because I've just been here long enough that I don't think twice about raising a family here, about taking my kids out, about walking on the street, about any of that stuff, like walking down the road with a backpack, any of that stuff that maybe in other Latin American countries, or even, hate to say it, places now like big cities in the US or in Canada that you have to kind of think twice before you do it. Panama is just very, very, very safe. The only type of crime that I have, like, that you hear about really on a semi-regular basis would be like petty stuff. Someone gets a cell phone snatched, but not like big, scary crime that you would hear about, on a kind of a daily basis in the US or Canada. Immigration. So this is one of the big points, and this is something that we strategically um, worked with this offering that I'm going to show you in a few more slides so that it checks this box. Yeah. So Panama has one of the best and one of the only golden visa programs still left around the world. So if you look at all the big dogs of the golden visa, which would have been years ago, Portugal, Spain, you look in the Caribbean, all of those, a lot of those changed really kind of overnight. Yeah. So our qualified investor program is something that was supposed to change in October of 2024 and has now been extended to October of 2026. Okay. That doesn't mean you want to be like running in at the finish line because it's still, I mean, anything with the government takes a little while. So if you're interested in this, like think about it soon. But the qualified investor program is amazing, really. It's basically immediate permanent residency. Immediate means within 30 to 45 days or as quickly as you can get your paperwork together, you can get permanent residency in Panama. And that leads to being able to become a citizen. Okay. Not all residency paths take you to being able to become a citizen. This one does. The qualified investor program does. And that starts with a minimum investment of at least $300,000 US for you Canadians. So 300,000 US dollars. Yeah. I mentioned the path to citizenship. So once you have your permanent residency, the requirements are that you have to visit 1 day every 2 years. Yeah. So very, very little requirements on that front. An ease of work permits. It's also possible for you to come and work depending on what profession you're in. There's some good retiree benefits through a pensionado program here. And then it's a pretty transparent migration process, and processing times. I think also I can say that with clarity because those of you that have worked with Mikkel for a long time or a decent amount of time and know Idalise, who helps him with immigration and all his clients with immigration, I mean, she probably knows the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and the Ministry of Immigration better than anyone because I'm pretty sure Mikkel and her did more qualified investor visas over the last, let's say, 12 months than anyone. So she's just a common face in both of those government offices. Yeah. So the process is straightforward. And when it's not, we know the people to talk to kind of, get clarity on things. Tax advantages. Um, Mikkel always likes to say that the correct amount of tax is zero. Um, and this is something that I think it's a mindset change, no? So I've been here again long enough that this is normal for me. And so when I hear about, I sit down and I become, quite good friends with a lot of my clients and a lot of you guys on here. The taxes that I hear that you guys are paying in Canada and the real estate taxes that you guys are paying in the US, I mean, I almost fall out of my chair, to be honest with you, because Panama is just so mentally, I can't even comprehend that. It's a territorial tax system, so it's only on income that's generated here in Panama. There's tax incentives for being here. There's different brackets, and it all depends on how whatever it is that you own, you're holding. It depends on if you're holding it in your name, if you're holding it in a corporation, those types of things. But the transaction costs, even on things that require taxes, is significantly lower than what you guys will be used to. My brother just bought a house and sold a house and bought a house in Florida. And I was talking to my mom about it. I call her every morning when I'm taking the kids to school. And I was like, Mom, what did Riley pay in capital gains out of curiosity? I almost fell over. And I'm so used to, like I said, capital gains in Panama is, I mean, nothing compared to what you guys pay in the US. And we'll get into that specifically when we start one-on-one conversations, but it is, let's say, a tenth. And that's very general because in Canada it will varies by state, I know. But healthcare, those types of things would be about a tenth of the cost of what you guys would be used to. Yeah. There's free trade zones here in special economic areas. That's why a lot of multinational companies like coming here. Their employees can work under what's called a SEM visa. And then you also have double taxation treaties. And yeah. So now we're going to start talking about the area of where this opportunity is. So the area, I have become Panamanian enough that, so when I first moved here, and I'm sorry for those of you that have heard this story before, but it's 100% true. When I first moved here, and I'd be trying to find out where I needed to go, I'd be like, okay, what's the address? Yeah, where's the direction? What's the address that I need to go to? And someone would go, well, it's down the street from the McDonald's in Paitilla. You take the second left at the Super Kosher and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? None of that makes sense to me. So in Panama, we don't really use, and now I do it. This is where I'm going. After a decade of being here, now I do it. So one of the main, probably the main reference point in Panama City, so in Panama, would be Avenida Balboa or the Cinta Costera. So the Cinta Costera is like the walking part, the walking, jogging side, and Avenida Balboa is actually that road, so where you see all those cars are. The Cinta Costera was where kind of the growth started in Panama. I put these two pictures because I think it's awesome to show like what it looked like in the 70s and what it looks like today. Okay. So in the 70s is where Panama City kind of along this road, it started growing. So you can see there's now buildings. I mean, people were parking along Avenida Balboa. I can't even imagine that today. Um, and now look at it. And now look at just how it's grown. And that's where everything is. So Avenida Balboa connects on both sides, basically the banking district and Casco Viejo, which is the UNESCO World Heritage Site. If you guys come, go to dinner there, it's beautiful, like very walkable, cobblestone streets, that kind of stuff. So where we are, where this opportunity is just 1.5 blocks off of the Cinta Costera. Okay. This is giving you guys a little bit of the track record of the developer. So they've been around for 40 years. It's a second generation company. So they've been around longer than I've been alive. And one of the beautiful things about Panama is because it's a small country, I always encourage you guys when you're here, like ask around. Because I also married into a Panamanian family. And when you're married into a Panamanian family, the country significantly shrinks for you. So I have my side where I'm kind of part of the expat, and then I'm also married into the Panamanian community. So I see both sides, okay? And from both sides, because Latino mother-in-laws also do not hold their tongues with feelings, right? So I can happily say, like, I sleep soundly every single night working with GLP, offering the product that we have. And I think this, I mean, the track record of what they've done. So I'm just going to mention a few things because they're country changing projects. So we have residential things such as Ocean Reef Islands, which are two man-made islands in the Bay of Panama City. You have a marina there. We use the same Dutch company that would have built the Palms in Dubai, helped us construct the islands. It really shouldn't exist, shouldn't be. It's amazing. Those are soon coming to an end. You have Santa Maria. So we were one of the original three founding partners of Santa Maria Golf and Country Club. You have all of basically Embassy Club, Embassy Gardens. That would be a few generations ago. And then Albrook Mall. So Albrook Mall is the biggest, by far the biggest mall in the country. I think it used to be up there in Latin America, but I think Brazil knocked us down from number one. But it's an absolutely massive mall. The Grand Terminal, which is the bus station, the main bus station of the country. So really main kind of like veins of Panama. GLP has been involved in developing. Yeah, like the country looks different because they exist. This gives you a little idea of kind of how that's distributed, but more um, a total, like to try and big picture show you how many square meters they built. So over 6 million square meters for Americans, just throw a zero on the end of that, more or less. But this gives you an idea of kind of how we're diversified and just to give you a little bit more of a track record. Okay, so it's not their first rodeo. It's not our first rodeo. We've been involved in things for the last 4 decades. Here it is, the big reveal. Introducing. Okay, so the build up. This came to be because, and then I'm not gonna totally tell Mikkel's story for him, but this kind of came to be because Mikkel had been looking for a very specific type of office space for a while now and hadn't been able to find it. So this came to be what you're gonna see next because of there's a hole in the market for something. And so what do we do best? GLP does best at creating products that currently don't exist on the market and doing them really, really well. Yeah, we don't create, there's hardly any product that we have that you can come out and compare apples to apples with. Yeah. The Expat Business Center. So the Expat Business Center is part of a bigger picture that I will get to next, but the Expat Business Center. So an international ecosystem, the first business center of its kind in Bella Vista. So remember, location, location, location. We talked about Bella Vista, why it makes sense, that kind of thing. But this type of office in this area, I would like to say really within Panama City, doesn't currently exist. You'll find lots of kind of like big stuffy offices because there's a lot of lawyers in Panama, there's a lot of bankers in Panama, and those guys like big stuffy offices, or that's what they've always traditionally had. So this idea of kind of having an infrastructure, I like this last line. It's an infrastructure that empowers a global community. Yeah. So this is a space that will offer professionals basically an environment where they want to be. So hopefully to be surrounded by like-minded business people that are looking for the same opportunities as them. Yeah. Here's another. I put the render in there. I knew I was doing this. Put it in there twice. Um, really aesthetically beautiful building. So the infrastructure for this is part of a 4-phase master plan. What does that mean? On the next slide, I'll get into a little bit more. But the idea is that we create basically a nice ecosystem or a space for this type of provider. Yeah, for this type of corporate service provider. So that would be legal firms, advisors, international consultants, corporate service providers. Yeah. And again, I don't want to tell Mikkel's story for him, but when he came and started telling us kind of what he was looking for, and he was like, listen, I've seen these all over the world. I've seen these in Singapore. I've seen these in Mexico City. I've seen these in Abu Dhabi, Hong Kong. And he's like, I can't find it in Panama. So that's where a lot of this inspiration came from, were cities like that. Yeah. Okay. So Expat Business Center is more than just the offices, okay? You have, for anyone that would have talked to me before previously about Armonia. So this is a culmination of, in the area, just off of Avenida Balboa, right? We're a block and a half off of Avenida Balboa. You have parking, which is really, really, really missing in that area, okay? And the offices come with parking. You have residential apartments, which would be Armonia. You have a hotel next connected, which is called Ventu. You have the entire 100 linear square meters on the bottom is all commercial space. So on Avenida Balboa, you'll see people like biking and scootering. We'll have a place where you can rent scooters, rent bikes, a pet shop where you can like, buy stuff for your dog, a restaurant, basically the whole bottom level is commercial. Yeah. So this is going to be the heart of Bella Vista. I once, I once heard Alfredo describe it that way, and it then kind of took shape for me. This will be the heart of that area where like people come, where people are either there to live, to work, to eat, to socialize, to go to the gym. Um, so it's going to be the heart of Bay Vista. Yeah. Costana Strip. So this is the commercial aspect of it, which I mentioned, electric scooters, pet shop, restaurant, gym, co-working space, laundromat. Okay. You have then Ventu Hometel, play on words, Hometel. Yeah. An element that creates a project's integrated experience. So this is nice, I think, too, for, I mean, just having the option of, let's say you guys have someone come visit, a client that comes visit, or your tenant that's renting from you has business partnerships that are going to come visit. There's an on-site hotel, okay? And on-site restaurants and on-site amenities, yeah? The rooftop amenities, I was looking over this with Mikkel and he's like, I can't wait to hang out here. I mean, really, really beautifully designed amenities on our rooftop. Paddle, swimming, sun deck, meeting room. Okay, and this area, so another big kind of piece of this is that this area, we talked about the location, right? So the location of Bella Vista, I showed you the picture from the 70s of how it looked in the 70s and how it looks now. Well, because it was the main spot in the 70s, it had been getting older, right? So there's a massive wave of kind of like a regentrification wave sweeping through that area, and about 40% of it has already been revitalized, which means there's a huge opportunity to get in before it's done. No? Um, you have, I mean, some big players that have put a lot of money in the area. You have, I mean, the Ray supermarket. It's not just a supermarket, actually, it's a whole shopping center, is a block from us. So you have a brand new shopping. It's kind of a mall because it has a pharmacy. It has a bunch of different things in it. But the Ray supermarket is probably my favorite major supermarket here. Brand new one. You have, for example, Armani has a building a block from us, so those are going to be really expensive, really big units. But you have some people that are putting some serious money into the area. You also have one of my favorite parks, Parque Eureka, which they just redid. I want to say it was 2019. At the end of 2019, they just completely redid it. So there's some major, major money being put into the areas, but there's still some opportunity. Yeah, there's still some opportunity. There's still a lot of opportunity for to get in before it's actually completely redone. Proximity to essentials. So I mentioned you're basically halfway between Casco Antiguo and the banking district. You're also, let's say, 15 minutes from Tocumen, and you're also not that far from in Howard either, or from Albrook. So there's two what you would call like regional airports, but then Tocumen's about 15 minutes from us. And Panama is not that, downtown Panama City is not that walkable. This area would be extremely walkable. This is one of the most walkable places in Panama, which makes it really, really convenient. Okay, I like this visual. So you have Balboa District, which is a culmination of everything, but it has Expat Business Center, Ventu Hotel, Armonia Residential. It has Costana Commercial, and then you have Expat Business. So we're 1.5 blocks from the Cinco Costera. Remember, the main vein of Panama City, we're 1.5 blocks off of, okay? You're also between one, two, three, four different metro stations. I filmed a video the other day walking to show how close the metro stations are, and they're really close. You have within probably about a 4 block radius, maybe 5 block radius, three different major hospitals. You have Hospital Nacional, you have Hospital Santo Tomas, you have the new Children's Hospital, and then a little bit further you have Paitilla, you have Punta Pacifica, and actually now you have Panama Clinic. So how many is that? One, two, three, four, five, 6 hospitals. Yeah, some of those have specializations. And then you can also see Ocean Reef Islands there, just to kind of give you an idea, those of you that have been to Panama, where this sits. Location-wise, you really can't beat it. Yeah. I spoke a little bit about the international ecosystem, but I think it's important to touch again. This is basically the idea is creating an environment where like-minded specialists can work, connect, and explore opportunities for growth. I think that's a really cool um, way of thinking because there might be other offices in Panama where, I don't know, everyone, has their own space, but because they're in such different, let's say, specializations, I don't know how many of those actually like, connect and there's added value by being next to each other. So I know that that was a major idea of Mikkel's when talking about this and starting to put it together is that these types of businesses can benefit by being next to each other. Yeah. Another nice render. Okay, so we worked really hard on the designs. I'm going to get more into the layouts in a little bit with the floor plans and things. But super efficient designs, flexible also. So you can design it kind of as you like, but different sizes. So not only ideal for personal use, but also for rental potential. That's the idea, right? Because I don't know how many of you, there could be some of you that are planning to use them for yourself, but a lot of this is from an investment perspective, kind of what is needed in the area. Yeah. So central location, and we will have on-site property management, which I can get into a little bit more. This is just again to show you how close we are to the Cinta Costera, and because I really like renders. Um, Here's a few renders from the inside. So we don't have, these don't come furnished, but you'll have the option later on closer to delivery to talk about furnishes. Really clean, customizable spaces. I kind of talked about that, but I'll get more into the floor plans here. I really like the pops of green. A few more. So this would be one where you have like a check-in desk there and then individual seating, but there's other ones with like round tables with like presentation rooms. We have a lot of different designs, yeah. Okay. Perks. So I mentioned this a little bit. Perks would be kind of hopefully being surrounded by we can't guarantee tenant mix, no. And at the end of the day, if this is an investment for you, we just want it to be filled. We want you to be generating income. But with the idea of attracting those types of clients, being able to have a shared space that's meaningful for international business connections, yeah, like creating a nice ecosystem. Investment benefits. So we have tried to think of everything. Rental demand in the area. So we talked a little bit, I touched on the medical sector because you're surrounded by the six hospitals. What I didn't mention is that that is also historically the area for universities. So you have in Panama what's considered protected professions. So protected professions in Panama are to be an attorney, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, to be an engineer, to be in maritime. All of these are protected, and all of the universities for those professions are really there in baby step. Okay. So the demand for housing, the demand for needing a space to work from, it's universities, but it's more so doctors that are doing their residencies or law school or engineering school. So you're not talking like 18-year-olds, you're talking like 30 somethings that are kind of doing their graduate studies, is really, really big in the area as well. We'll have the option. You can use us or you can use someone else, but we will have on-site property management. And then this is also something that we thought a lot about with the different price points that I'll get to that would allow you to qualify for residency. Okay. Because remember, we talked about the qualified investor visa. If you don't already have it, we have price points that will make a lot of sense for you guys that are interested in residency that will qualify you. Okay. Hassle-free property ownership. No one wants to be managing their own rental. No. So we have GLP property management, which falls under the umbrella of GLP. And we've been managing property since 2007. Okay. So we have a lot of experience doing this, in finding tenants, in just doing a really good job of getting the best return for your rental. Okay. This kind of goes into what our services include: maintenance and administration, tenant leasing, and common area upkeep, excuse me. And then, yeah, so over 300 units. I didn't realize it was over 300. That's a lot. Another nice render. And where you're facing, so how this faces, Avenida Balboa is to your left, but you would have a really nice view on either side of the building towards downtown Panama City. Okay. And then I just kind of put this in there to remind you, who's behind it. I mean, we've done a lot of country changing projects. So I think it's really important. Anything that's backed by GLP just has another level of oomph, another, level of security behind it. Okay. I'm getting into now the floor plans. And these floor plans aren't the best, but we'll get into these specifically with you guys one-on-one. So in your mind, you can divide these up into four different sizes and prices. Okay, so we're going to talk about small, medium, large, and then corporate. Okay, so small is with 8 per floor. Okay, and they range between 40 and 46 square meters. For you Americans, throw a zero on the end of that. And the pricing here ranges from 165 to 219. Okay, and this is to give you an idea for teams between 6 and 12 people, very slightly based on kind of the layout that you pick. Okay, so this is small. Medium would be 4 offices per floor, ranging between 77 and 90 square meters, pricing between 338 and 385. Okay, so for the visa, you could do 2 small ones, or you could do 1 mid. Okay, and this is for teams of between 8 to 16 people. Okay. Large. Okay, so large would be 2 per floor. Okay, so 1 on each full side. You have like an internal side and you have an external side. And these would range between 156 and 173 square meters and pricing between 680 and 740. Okay, and this is for teams between 25 and 30 people. So we've gone small, medium, large. Now I'm going to talk to you about corporate. Corporate would be the whole floor. Okay. Um, I think Mikkel's taken a whole floor. So if you want to be just below him, you can take another whole floor. But whole floor is 371 square meters. This is for teams of 50 plus people, plus a conference room of up to 25. Okay. So this would be the corporate. So small, medium, large, this is corporate. Okay. So when you are contacting us, it would be very helpful for you to have an idea in your head. You don't have to know exactly, but when you're contacting us, to have an idea of price point you're thinking. Do you need the visa? Are you doing this for residency? That type of thing. And then we can kind of help direct the conversation in a quicker fashion. Okay, this is our overview. We just went over all of them. Yeah. So take a mental picture of this one. Um, I'm gonna share this with you anyway, so you don't have to take a mental picture. Payment schedule. So this is, I think, maybe one of the most exciting parts of it. Yeah, because it's really not an aggressive payment schedule. So you have $5,000, I forgot to put the word refundable. Okay, $5,000 refundable reservation. Yeah. Then we're gonna do within 15 days. So our time frame is 15 days. Complete 10% at signing. So that's 10% minus the 5K that you already paid. Okay. And then another 20% over the time of construction. But I laid this out for you what that means. So that means you pay your 10% at signing, which is within 15 days. And then you're paying me another 10% not until Q1 of 2026. So nothing until 2026, right? That's another 10%. And then your third 10%, not until Q3 of 2026. Okay. These are estimations because it's usually as fast as we build, but we're pretty good at estimations at this point because we know how fast we build and things like that. So that is 30% between today and Q3 of 2026. Okay. So it's a really not aggressive. Is there a better way to phrase that? A really lax, a nice looking payment schedule, I'd say. Yeah. And then 70% of delivery between now and Q3 of 2026, 70% of delivery. Okay. hmm Now, this is how you're going to get a hold of us. If you would like to get in touch with me and my team, I have girls waiting by the phone to make a refundable deposit. So it's $5,000. You'll need your credit card. You're going to write an email to this email address on there that's expat at glp.com.pa. Don't forget the PA, please. Expat at glp.com.pa. And please include your name, your phone number. If you have an idea of price point that you're interested in or size that you're interested in, that would be very helpful. And then whip out that credit card and turn up the phone volume and wait for us to call you back, okay? Because the girls are sitting next door. They're ready to get going as soon as we start receiving emails. But this is kind of a first come, first serve. As soon as the emails start coming in, we're going to start getting back to people in the order that you write in, okay? So that's the idea, and go.
Amazing. Okay. So, everybody, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the story, how this came up, and why this is so important to me. But before I do that, I just want to go to the Q&A box that we used earlier. And if what Kiley shared with you today is interesting, if you appreciate all the work, if this is something that you want to get involved in as an investor, and maybe get your residency, not mandatory, but if you are in, I want you to type in "I'm in" at the bottom. Okay. So, I moved to Panama 6 years ago. I've been an expat for 25 years. I left Canada in the year 2000. This is my 25th year as an expat. I lived in Singapore. I lived in Abu Dhabi and Dubai for almost a decade. I've lived all over the world, and I like being in fast growing cities. I like the energy and what goes into that. And I certainly saw that with Singapore. You know, I was there when the Marina Sands went up, and I saw the area grow like crazy. I saw that in Abu Dhabi when I lived there, and Yas Island and all these things. I saw it in Dubai, all of these places. It grows, 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 grows. And they were always putting in these new mixed use buildings. Okay. So you would go in and it would have restaurants there, and it would have commercial space, and it would have a hotel, and it would have residential, and have cafes, and it would have offices and business centers, and all these types of things. And it was so cool because it's this ecosystem all around this one kind of idea. So if you needed something done, you go over to next door, or you go downstairs. Like, I used to work for the largest property developer in all of Southeast Asia when I lived in Singapore. And so you'd go to these buildings, and if you went to the cafe, you would meet other people who were working in that industry. And there's this collaboration of ideas that would happen in a place like that. And when I got to Panama 6 years ago, and I wanted to move the Expat Money headquarters somewhere, there was nothing. Like, I couldn't find what I was looking for. We got all the infrastructure that's going in. They're expanding the highways. They're doing the new bridges. We've got all of these types of things. The new airport, all of this, cruise terminal, Amador Causeway. It's like, wow, all this amazing stuff that's going in. But we don't have proper business centers here. And Panama is the center of the offshore world. Imagine that, okay? There are more companies registered in Panama than in any other place on planet Earth except for Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is going down because of mainland China interfering, and Panama is going up. So we're going to cross soon. We are the center of the offshore world, but there's no central place. It's just like the whole city. It's just kind of spread around the whole city. So I've done so much immigration for Panama, actually. Kylie mentioned before, my partner that I do immigration with you, we did roughly half of the visas for the country of Panama. Half of the investors' visas for Panama was done through us last year. That's a crazy high number. But you know what happens to happen? we have to go all the way out to Costa Leste, and then we got to go all the way to the over here, and then we got to drive to Avenida Balboa, and then we've got to go to the notary over there. We got to go all over the city to get this done. There's no central place. So I've been looking for a place to put my headquarters for expat money. We're a 30-person team. A lot of us are remote, but now a lot of us are starting to come here. We do a lot of events, a lot of big things going on. And I needed somewhere that I would be putting people. Okay. Now, once this is completed, we're going to have everything together in one central building. Imagine that for a second, okay? We've got the lawyers there. We've got the accountants there. We might even get a bank there, okay? And then we're going to have my head office. We're going to have Kiley's going to hopefully have an office there, other property developers. So people are going to be able to pop by. We're going to be able to see each other. We're going to be able to interact. Oh, we need a document signed? Perfect. The law office is one floor down. Oh, we got some questions for the accountants? Great. Let's jump in the boardroom. Hey guys, can you just pop downstairs for a second? I need you for 20 minutes. Have a coffee, go through it. Oh, we need something. We need to open an account. Let's go to the ground floor. There should be a bank or something around there. So it's like everything together in one spot. Okay. Now, I can't guarantee exactly who's going to rent from us and everything like that. But the idea is the Expat Business Center. This is the international businesses. So I think that maybe some people who are going to watch, they're going to go, oh, I'm not going to relocate my head office here. It's not about, your head office or what you guys are going to do. What our community is going to do is own the real estate. Okay. We're going to own the offices and we're going to rent it out to all the professionals who work in this space so that they have a good place to be. Now, anything that is purpose built, which is really, really well thought out, we're going to have more people coming for that. They're going to be fighting to get in, just like all GLP products. If you look at a GLP, as Kiley said, there's nothing that's comparable. You can't take some random building that was done by someone who doesn't know against the experts who are really, really detailed on these types of things. All right. So it's all going to be together in one building. We've got the commercial space, the whole ground floor. We've got the parking, which doesn't exist anywhere else, by the way, in this area. It's so hard to find. We've got the residential space, so people can live there. They can walk to work. It's literally connected. They've got the paddle courts. If you guys know anything about Latin America, you'll know how popular paddle is. I've even taken up paddle, okay?
Mhm.
I've even taken up paddle. I was with a client for dinner 2 nights ago. He's like, you know what? I've taken up paddle. It's like, me too. I love it. It's right there in the building. We've got a hotel, all right? If you guys have been down here for one of my tours, you know that we send you to different hotels. We had the conference at different hotels. Now we have our own hotel, all right? And now the cherry on top, the final piece that was missing from all of this is a proper workspace, a proper office space, modern design. All right. We've got 8 floors of office, 8 floors. One floor is mine. I already put my money down. I've already reserved it. I'm already taking an entire floor for Expat Money HQ. And there's going to be so much amazing things to share about that. If you guys want to be part of this process, if you want to be an investor alongside me in this building, if you want to be in the heart as we're watching this gentrification take shape and all the money flood back into this area, I want you to go to the Q&A button right now and just type in, I'm in, okay? I think this is super important. I want to make sure that you guys see how important this is, that this really strikes you, okay? Let's see here. Okay, Gloria says, I'm in. Nicole says, I'm in. Totally interesting from Marcel. Here we go. I'm in. Lots of questions here. Dawn says, I'm in. Sharon says, go Kiley! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Is Eco Villages moving there? Yes, I believe so. That needs to be finalized, but my partners on that should be in the same building. Basically, everybody that you know that I work with in Panama will all be coming to this one building. Now, most likely they're going to be renting in these. So they need owners who are going to be able to buy it and you're going to be able to rent it to people. But I already have people who are lined up to get into this building. We already have tenants who really, really want to be in here. Another quick note on this. This is an amazing opportunity if you're looking for consistent cash flow, consistent. So if you look at the kind of the 3 or 4 ranges here, you have short-term rental, which is really up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay. It's amazing. You can make amazing money at it, but often it's very weekend related and there can be holidays and things like that. Okay. So that's very variable. Yeah. Then you can have residential, which might be, mid and long term, but a tenant can turn over every year, which means you could have a month or 2 months where the property sits empty. But over here on office space, in a purpose built building like this, once you get a good tenant and you treat them right and they like the building and the amenities and it makes financial sense for them, they're going to be signing long-term agreements. You could expect, I mean, nothing in life is guaranteed, but people to be tenants of yours for 5 years, for 10 years. That means 100% occupancy rates. All right. That's what we're going to be targeting here. We're going to look for long-term tenants. So reliable cash flow. If you're looking to get out of a stock portfolio or a dividend paying stock portfolio, if you're looking to get out of a regular business or a 9 to 5 or something like that, and you want reliable cash flow to be able to live off of, then offices might be a good option for you. All right. Because the tenant turnover is a lot lower, the occupancy rate is a lot higher, and that's something you can rely on. All right. Okay. Lots of questions here. Mitchell says, I'm in. Amazing. Amber says, I want to be in. Here we go. Lots of, I'm in. When is delivery? Okay. We're going to get to all of the questions in a second. So I hope you guys are super pumped about this. What I want you to do, if this is something that is interesting to you, up on the screen right now is the instructions. Very, very simple. Step 1, write us an email. Step 2, include your phone number. Step 3, note which office size you are interested in. Number 4, have your credit card ready. Turn up the volume on your phone and then wait for a callback. We are ready to go on these things. Kiley, we good to hand over the floor for, or not hand over the floor. We'd good to take a break for 5 minutes, let everybody follow these instructions, and then we'll come back. Let's have a conversation. There's a few other points that I really, really want to highlight for people, and then we'll get into Q&A. I know there's 32 questions there already for us, so people are definitely very, very excited about this. Guys, just one last thing before I give you a 5-minute bathroom break, and we're bang on time, by the way, for our agenda today. This is going to be a first come, first serve. There's only 8 floors. I'm already taking 1 floors. We're only talking about, I think we counted would be like somewhere around a maximum of 32 units. That's like a max. So there's not a ton of these. If you buy 2 of the smaller ones, I will get you permanent residency on the back of it, or 1 medium one, I can get you permanent residency. If you don't need permanent residency because you already have it or it's not interesting to you, no problem. This is still a solid investment. This is not just to get residency. That's like an extra. That's just like something cool that we really kept in mind when designing this project. I wanted to make sure that it would qualify you for residency. And this project, absolutely, we can get you residency. So this is a nice plan B. I even have some people who are wondering if they could get one of the offices and a residential and put them together to get residency. And the answer is yes. So even if you wanted to have to live down here, or you wanted to split it between office and residential, we can do that to get you residency. So there's a lot of different ways. But first and foremost, and then I will be quiet, is you need to write us an email. You need to put in your phone number. You need to tell us which one you're interested in. And you need to have the volume of your phone up, because we're going to be calling back all day. And I'm going to go ahead and put the email address in the chat for everyone. It's expat@glp.com.pa. Expat@glp.com.pa. .pa, very, very important. Okay, Kiley, let's go ahead and turn off our video, mute ourselves, leave this screen up so people have all the instructions. It is 10 a.m. on the dot in Panama. I will be back here at 10:05. You guys have got 5 minutes to use the bathroom and send an email. Sound good? All right, Kiley. So a couple of things I want to discuss with you. First of all, because I know it's going to come up in the Q&A, let's just talk a little bit more about the residency process, just so people really understand the residency, if this is something that they want to do. Completely optional, but a very important piece of a plan B. So maybe highlight some of the main points for the residency, and then I'll fill in any of the details as well.
Okay. So basic level is price point. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be X amount of properties has to be over a total of $300,000. Yeah. I saw a question in the Q&A that asked about do they have to hold it for a specific time frame? So the minimum investment requirement is 5 years. That does not mean that you have to hold the same property for 5 years. It means that the minimum amount of $300,000 has to come from an international bank to Panama. We get a certification letter from the bank that certifies the funds came from outside. That gets an approval from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and an approval from immigration. Okay. With those funds and your promissory purchase agreement, which is the contract that you sign with me, you can apply for permanent residency. After the $300,000 are in, after we provide the bank letter and the promissory purchase agreement, you can then start your residency process. Yeah. And then maybe I put the cart before the horse. After you get your residency with those properties or that property, you can sell it and you have how many months is it to buy something else?
6.
6. So within 6 months, you have to take those funds and put it into some other piece of Panama real estate, but it has to stay in the country for 5 years. Yeah.
All right. And this is not a, hey, buy it and flip it type of thing, but it's just that if something comes up or you need optionality or you have that option, you have the flexibility to do what you want with this. Another piece on the residency, very, very important. Who's included in the residency? Well, we have the primary applicant, which is you or your spouse. Then we have dependents. So a dependent would be a spouse, someone who is legally married, or children. Children between 0 and 18 years old, no problem. Very fast, very easy, no criminal record check needed. We just include them in the application. They're included. If your child is between 18 and 25, we can still do the residency for them, but we have to show two things. One, they're a full-time student, and two, they're not married. As long as they're not married, they're going to school, going to university, doing even an online program, but it's full-time, we can get the residency for your children. Now, if your child is over the age of 25, the only way to get them the residency is either that they have some type of disability that prevents them to work and you support them full-time. I had this with a client of mine. He was in his mid 70s and he had a son who had a disability that prevented him from work. His son was like 51 or something like that. We were able to include the son in the process, no problem. Or what a lot of my clients do is they will purchase real estate for their children. Let's say your child is 35 and married and you have some grandkids or something like that. They would buy the property for their child. Then the child would be their own primary applicant. They would have a dependent or a sponsor, their own spouse, and their kids, your grandkids. So there are ways to get the entire family into this process. But it's family wide, so direct family, and we can. There's many ways to skin the cat on this. I had someone in here who was like, "Well, I want to bring my wife. Does that mean I need to do 2 times 300,000?" No, one of you is a primary, one of you is a dependent. Doesn't matter male, female, or anything like that. It's up to you guys how you want to do it, but we'll do all the legal work for you afterwards if the residency is something you want to do, but it's not a mandatory. All right. I think that's a pretty clear explanation of immigration.
I
Anything
think
we
so.
missed in there, Kylie? I think it's pretty good, right?
I think so. I can't think
Oh,
of, maybe we've discussed this so many times it just all blurs together. But the residency piece is important. The residency piece is important, and it's important because it's ending. There's an end date to it. Yeah.
correct, correct. So what happened last year was because we've done so many of these, when the government actually went to change it, they contacted me and my partners, the lawyers I work with on this, and asked for our opinion on things. I wrote a professional opinion letter. We were down at the Ministry of Commerce. This visa is not done through immigration. It's a special investors visa, which is done through the Ministry of Commerce. I think between me and the lawyers and sitting down and talking. I think close to 30 meetings, I think we had over a 6 month period about this. I was even sitting down for dinner with the ministers, with the vice ministers, going over the immigration for Panama. And we were able to push back the changes for an additional 2 years. Well, we're already almost a year into that. Okay. So that means that in just over 1 year, it's going to go from a $300,000 to a $500,000 investment. I was able to push them off last time. I doubt I'm going to be able to push them off again this time. They really want it to be the golden visa at $500,000. But the nice thing is that if you end up purchasing real estate with us on this project, we can get you residency now and you're grandfathered in. Okay. You're grandfathered into the program. You keep your permanent residency, even if they nearly double the investment amount. It doesn't matter for you because you already have your immigration. Okay. That's a huge difference. Now, don't try to wait. I said it's probably about a year until it changes. Don't wait until the end. We have to start this process months in advance. We have to get apostilles. We have to gather the documents from the government. We have to get it translated. I have been through multiple changes in the immigration here in Panama. And what ends up happening is not only is the immigration or the Ministry of Commerce, they're getting more busy and it's harder to get an appointment, but also the banks are busier. There's so many people going through that we can't get the bank certification letter. And the translation, all the translators are full. What normally should take, say, 2 days or 3 days to get a translation is taking like 2 weeks to get a translation. And imagine every document has to go from English to Spanish by an official government translator. You can't wait until the very last minute. You need to look at these things like right now, a year in advance, so that we can plan it all out. So there's no stress for you. There's no stress for me, no stress for the lawyers. I remember Ida and I, before one visa change, we neither one of us took 1 day off for 4 months straight. Okay. We both worked for 4 months in a row with 0 days off, just working on the immigration because we were taking so many people through this process. Okay. Please, I got lots of kids. I got a big family. Don't stress me out on the last days, okay? Trying to get everybody in on this. You had super fair warning. We're launching this project strategically right now. So if you want to get residency, this is your opportunity to do it. But to be able to get the residency, we need a real estate project at a minimum of $300,000. So this is purpose built on this, okay? Now, I've really hammered home the immigration part, but I don't want that to think like, hey, this is just immigration and it's not going to be a good investment. No, we we built this to be an excellent investment. Okay. We designed this because we want people to be coming into the building, into the area. Maybe Kiley, next we can talk a little bit more, not just about the Expat Business Center, but the overall building itself, all the amenities, what's going on there, the theme, the feeling, this mixed use building, which is so exciting, which I was looking for around the world. Let's dive into those pieces a little bit more.
Yeah. So it's been really interesting to see you have so many pieces with the building that it attracts lots of different types of people. But for example, like Europeans that would be used to, let's say, efficient apartments, the apartments that we have there in Armonia would be between 45 square meters and I think the biggest is 71 square meters. So you're looking between 1 and 3 beds. And I have everything from, I mean, local Panamanian families that would be buying, a lot of them buy because their kids would be using the universities nearby, like they'd be going to grad school there. So they're buying now because in 2 years they know that they have a child that will be going. Um, I deal a lot with, I've had a lot of Europeans that are looking to use it part-time themselves. I think Europeans will be more used to smaller, efficient spaces, if that makes sense. And with a good designer, you can do a lot. But also with this idea of you're just in the center of everything. Like I remember just post COVID things, they came out with this big report of how Panama or city real estate had done, like how fast it had rebounded. Because in general, Panama was one of the quickest countries to rebound after everything opened up. And Avenida Balboa was actually the only real estate in the whole country that didn't take a dip. in value. Yeah, it never dipped. Everywhere else dipped. It came right back up afterwards. But Avenida Balboa was the only real estate in the whole country that didn't dip, which I think is, I mean, it's significant. It was a pretty cool report. I'll have to go back and find it. Um, and then you have I don't always see Alfredo's vision initially. Sometimes it takes me a little while to like soak it in and get it. And I have to hear him talk about it a few times. He also has the big picture a lot before me, no? But with these different components, like he would talk about parking and be so excited about parking, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get why you're so excited about a parking structure. And then you go a few times and you realize, like, gosh darn it, there's no parking in the area. Like, we're the only ones that will actually have parking there. And that's significant. Like when you can't find a place to park, it matters. Like people, I avoid going places where I know I won't be able to park. So if you're a business, that's hugely important. Um, from the hotel perspective, also, so the hotel is, we redesigned it with this really great firm out of Medellin, who's really famous for like aesthetically, I don't know if eco is the correct word, but they do a lot of like natural green and browns and earth tones, and the whole structure was redesigned for the hotel with them. And I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful structure. So you have completely different amenities that will be specific for the hotel and for the residential. You then have amenities that will be just for the area. So for all of like Bella Vista that can come and use. And when you look at Panama City, I don't walk that much. I hate to say it, but I walked the other day because I was picking up a gift for my mother-in-law. And I was realizing, like, man, the rest of Panama City, the majority of downtown Panama City is not friendly for walking. Like, it's not. I almost fell. Yeah, I almost like, I'm decently athletic and I almost biffed it. But this area is really because it was the area in the 70s. It was the space. I mean, the sidewalks are nice. Um, and it's walkable because you have the university. So you can pop over for lunch, you can pop over for a coffee, you can walk up and do your groceries, you can just kind of whatever you need right there is very, very convenient. And there's not that many places in Panama that in such a small space you have kind of at your fingertips everything that you need, no? So residential, parking, residential, hotel, the whole bottom level is commercial, and then now the expat business center. So.
I know a lot of people who are clients of mine who live here in Panama City, but they're spread out and they're so keen to move their business, their office to this spot that now want to move their home to this spot as well. So everything becomes walkable in downtown Panama. And the location is just so amazing, being right off of Avenida Balboa, where it's the Cinto Costera is like this amazing green space that follows the contours of the water there. So you can go for a run or rollerblade or rent a bike or do whatever you want and go out there. There's exercise, there's paddle there, there's basketball, there's football, there's calisthenics, like outdoor gyms, things like that. There's like a boxing place on one side. Like it's so athletic. So you can walk down there. You're literally right there. Do your exercise in the morning, come back, shower, jump into the office. You don't have these huge commutes. You don't have these traffic or anything like that. It's all right there. So it's so, so convenient. And it's not just like us who are interested in it, it's Panamanians. It's people who want to do business. They want this type of a lifestyle where everything is convenient and easy access. And then you're in the center. So if you want to go out to Casco Viejo for a fancy dinner, boom, it's 5 minutes in an Uber, something like that down. All the Michelin star restaurants are around this area. So it's like the heart. Like what normally happens is you can't get anything in these areas, or the buildings are so old you wouldn't want to be in them. But this is a gentrification. So we've got these amazing lots, this location that brand new buildings are being done. And with the office there, it's going to be so much coming back. And you think about all the companies that are migrating here, all the new company registrations here. This location is insane. Like it is just, I can't stress this enough how amazing this location is, guys. When you see it, your jaw will drop. It's nuts. So I don't know, Kylie, if you want to hammer home anything else in the building or anything else about the location, but I just really want people to get it, on how important this is.
No, I mean, I think like the number one rule in real estate, no, what do they say? Like three different times, location, location, location. And it's the only, I mean, we've had this land for, I don't want to misquote, but this used to be GLP offices way back in the day. So the only reason we even have the land is because we've owned it forever. So now purchasing land in that area, I mean, it would be so expensive, it would be hard to make it make sense. But just because GLP's been around for so long, we've had this land. So that's the only way that it financially makes sense to do that if I'm communicating that in a yeah, the right way.
Definitely. There's no way you
So
can just go in there and
mhm.
just, I mean, there's no land left, first of all. And then because Panama's very big into condo units, it's not like back home in North America where you can own an entire apartment building. Everything's condo here. So to be able to get a plot of land, you'd have to buy out, say, 50 different homeowners or something like that, and then do a tear down and then put something up. But because GLP already owned this land, it's why we're able to do this project and have it make good financial sense for you guys. Okay. Now, I looking at these questions, Kylie, there is many people who want to know, you know, how much can I rent this out for? And what's the return on investment? And all of these types of things. I want to
Mhm.
be super duper clear before you go, Kylie, that we can't guarantee anything. All investment contains risk. There is no we have our projections and we have what's in our mind, and we're going to build this to do absolutely the best possible. I'm a fellow investor, but, disclaimer, 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 you know, you need to do your own due diligence. There's all these little things that the lawyer wants me to say. I think you guys have heard me with my disclaimers many times before. So I'm making no promises here. I'll just tell you what I'm doing, that I am moving my head office there, that I am putting in a large chunk of money into this project because I believe in the area. I designed the vision based on 25 years of watching what's happening in the world, and I'm bringing it exclusively to the expat money community. That's another quick side point.
Mhm.
No one else can get in on this. Nobody. General public cannot get in on this. This is not going to Remax or Keller Williams or anything like that. No other group, no other community, no other organization can get into this. Only expat money community. I'm not going to purpose build something and put so much of my life into it if I didn't believe in the vision. Okay, guys? So, with disclaimers out of the way, Kylie, please maybe flesh this out a little bit, and what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say.
Sure. So I want everyone to know that I'm going to be kind of general, but the numbers that we run are not general, right? Like these are all very, very calculated. And we can talk about a lot of those more on kind of a one-on-one basis, but conservatively, again, it depends on sizing because every size has slightly different numbers, if it's furnished, if it's not furnished, but I would say I can conservatively talk around 5%. I don't want to, I like to under promise and then you guys are much happier afterwards. But I would say 5% is a nice number that I feel comfortable saying. Again, we can hammer into details kind of more one-on-one. I have them for each specific unit listed out here. We've run all the numbers. And that's kind of that's where I'll upper level 5%. Yeah.
I will also chime in on here. That is cash on cash return. That's income. That is
Yeah.
not capital appreciation. So, Kylie, maybe explain the
Um,
two different types of capital
right.
appreciation, and what that means
And
for this.
that's purely from cash flow perspective. So that was, you're looking at cap rates on cash flow, yeah, of when it's renting. I always say there's two different types of capital appreciation. There is what the market does, which I don't like to speak to because you don't know what it's going to do. Yeah. I don't have a crystal ball, no one does. And lots of people like to talk about that capital appreciation. There's also capital appreciation from a developer's point of view, which is as a building sells, we raise pricing. Okay. As a building becomes more complete, we raise pricing. And this is priceless zero. So as you said, like you guys are the first and only at this moment who have the opportunity to get into these offices. Um, in the future, if someone's looking to resell it, or if I have anything left, I mean, in GLP fashion, and as any other developer will do, as you sell, you raise prices. Yeah. So what the market does, it will do what it wants. We're in a strategic place country-wise and within Panama City that the stars align, it should hopefully also increase in value. But I don't like to speak to that one. But from a developer perspective, as we sell, we raise prices. So the numbers I was talking about earlier were purely from a rental perspective, a cash flow, once it's up generating cash flow. But I didn't touch on capital appreciation until just now. So those are usually the two biggest situations that, like, from an investment perspective, people think of would be sitting on something, looking to get some capital appreciation, or from a cash flow perspective afterwards, no? Um, from a cash flow perspective, so, and this was a question that we had earlier too, I believe, is delivery timeline. Yeah. So remember the payment schedule. I'm going to go back really quick. Payment schedule would be 10% at signing, 10% Q1 of 2026, 10% basically Q3 of 2026. Okay. So it's a pretty small commitment between now and 2020, Q3 of 2026. Delivery for this is estimated for Q1 of 2028. We're not like, we don't have any major groundworks that we have to do. Everything's above ground, so we don't have to, like, dig down far. Armonia phase one and phase two are already up. So I mean we're moving. It's not like there's major infrastructure, anything that should keep us from these dates. But those would be my major, yeah. So talking cash flow, capital appreciation. Is there anything I missed in
A
that?
couple of things that I
Okay.
want to add to. So, and I can say things that Kylie can't say. But we do have to be a little bit careful, especially on a live presentation, just because of legal and things like that. But maybe you guys can, how to say this? You guys know what I'm about. All right. You guys know the type of work that I do. You know my reputation. You know that we are always very conservative with our numbers. Now, in general terms, what I have seen is in areas like this, you're looking at about 5% annually in capital appreciation. If it's something really specific, special built, purpose built, it can be higher than that. Path of progress, okay? General terms. So you would take a number like that and you would add it to the conservative number of 5% of cash on cash. You would add them together. That will give you a clearer picture of what you might be able to expect. Now, from the delivery side, pre-construction, which is what this is, there is usually around a 30%, I would say. Some projects I do are as high as 50%. Some projects are as low as 30%, but that's kind of the appreciation we see during the build cycle. That is on top of that. So you get a nice capital appreciation, an unrealized gain while it's being built. You have delivery. Then you will get your cash flow. And this is, once again, nice, safe, stable cash flow. This is not a short-term rental. I believe when building a portfolio, we need to have some bedrock properties in there. This would be a bedrock property. This is something that you would be able to count on, that you know every single month. Commercial spaces and office spaces, these people typically pay on time. The percentage of people paying on time for a project like this is a lot higher than, say, a residential unit or something like that. So this is bedrock that you know, okay, everything in life contains risk, yada yada yada. You know that you are going to get paid. You're going to get paid on time, and it's going to be consistent for long periods of time. Okay. This is not a speculative play. This is not, hey, let's try to shoot for the moon and get the highest return possible and go crazy and take a lot of risks. This is a very safe, stable one. As the rest of the world goes absolutely bonkers out there, that the stock market goes crazy, that everything is manipulated. I want some nice, safe, stable investments in my portfolio. And oh, by the way, it's in the path of progress. And oh, by the way, you can get permanent residency off of it. Okay. So I hope I'm really clear of this. And I'm also hopefully didn't get myself into too much trouble with this. I tried to make sure disclaimer onto disclaimer, disclaimer, Kylie. But are those all fair statements, would you say?
Mhm.
Cool. All right. Let's get into Q&A. I know there's like a ridiculous amount of questions here. We're bang on time, by the way, guys. We're at an hour and a half right now. So we're right on. I'm happy to stay on for half an hour, even an hour and a half, depending on how many Q&A here. All right, and if I don't answer your specific question, it's because I feel like we've covered it already. Okay, so just before we get into the Q&A, once again, send us an email, expat@glp.com.pa. That's how you're going to be able to participate in this project, expat@glp.com.pa. Okay. I missed the first hour of the presentation. Is it being recorded? Yes, it is being recorded, and I will send out the first half, but I will tell you that it takes a little bit of time to render it. We'll get it out as soon as possible. But if this is something that you are interested in, you better send an email because who knows, this could even be sold out. I would expect this to sell out this weekend. Okay. So it's not something you're going to want to wait. By the way, when I send out the recordings, feel free to send it to a friend or a family member or a business partner or a colleague or something like that. We want to bring everybody in. Okay. Ulf says, I am interested. Excellent, Ulf. Kylie,
Hi, Wolf.
we both know Ulf very well. He's awesome. You are awesome. Are you coming on a trip with us, by the way, this year? Let me know. I want to see you on one of our tours. Okay. Can a spouse be added afterwards if you get married for immigration? Yes, we can. It's a slightly different process, but it is definitely a possibility. But we need to get you as a primary applicant first. That needs to be done, and then we can add afterwards. Okay. If we have a spouse and make the investment with residency in mind, does the spouse get rolled in? Yes. So we answered this. It's for a husband and a wife, and any kids under 18 years old, or kids 18 to 25 years old that are full-time students and not married. Okay.
There's one that says any concerns that the building's being delivered after the residency requirement. So this is one of the only residency that because it does not need a deed, the deed does not have to be ready, meaning the apartment does not have to be ready. That's what's so special about the qualified investor visa, is that with the promissory purchase, meaning that it can still be in construction, you can still qualify for residency. The only certification comes from the minimum $300,000 funds have to be brought into the country. So this is a very, very unique visa. That's what also makes it very special. The building can be completed after your residency happens, after you pay me and after you sign the promissory purchase, and then we can deliver it to you later.
Exactly. This is not common, by the way. Usually, like this is not a possibility. You have to have the title deed. And in Latin America, title deeds can take a really long time, which means you could wait years to get your visa. If you end up purchasing this, we'll be able to get your visa in record time, meaning that you will have a legal place, a legal country that you can live, work, do business, anything you want forever. It's a permanent residency visa. The only caveat is that you need to visit Panama 1 day every 2 years. 1 day every 2 years. That's it. And for my private clients and first class clients, you send me an email a couple of weeks before. When you come into town, we'll go out for a nice steak dinner. We'll hang out in person. If the business center is built, then you can come and see your unit. I'm going to have a nice bar and cafe inside my office. So we'll be able to hang out there and show you around. It's going to be amazing. Another important point is, oh, I just lost it. You were saying something and I really wanted to highlight it. Okay. Oh, so holding costs. So I'll go on this one and then you, Kylie, because this is so important. Okay. The very, very, very conservative number that we mentioned before is including property management, is including HOAs, is including all of these types of things. That's what we call a net net. I'm very affectionate of calling net net return. The only thing it does not include is your personal income tax. Okay. I have no idea what your personal income tax are, what your responsibilities are, if you're an American, all of that is separate. You know your own tax situation. Okay. But net net, that number that we talked about, the unrealized gains and the realized gains, you add them together, that is a net net amount. Okay. So it's not like, oh, we're going to carve back all of these things. Those things have already been carved back. I could have gave you a number much, much higher, but then you would have had to do all the mental gymnastics and mental math and things on, well, what about this? What about that? Well, what about the HOA? Well, what about the security? What about this? What about that? No, all that work has been done for you on it. So do you want to add to that or chime in on any of those things, Kylie?
No, I mean what we're talking, the numbers that we speak about are net.
Super duper important. Okay, because here's like I'm scrolling through it. So what would the maintenance fees be? The utility, the insurance, it's all included in those types of returns. So, I mean, we can break it down. If you guys send us an email, Kylie will go through it line by line by line in a spreadsheet with you, break down every single detail. But I just don't want to confuse people and start throwing out numbers for these different things. And then you start thinking that that's going to be taking away from stuff. It's not, it's already considered in there. And we always take, if there's a range of numbers, we always take the worst number so that so that when you actually have it, it's like, we've already accounted for the downside. We're so I guess there really is no other word. We're so conservative with these types of things. We try to think of everything on it. Okay. Yeah, can't wait to see the financial model showing cash flow projections, ROI for each plan. Amazing. Send an email. Kylie will be able to go through this. Um, is there a target return? Okay, so I think that a ton of these ones are from before we went into that. So I'm just going to kind of skip over those because I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Okay. Okay. So do medium size properties at $300,000 plus for the full amount would need to be held in Panama for residency. We have dead money until 2028 Q1, correct? Or is it held in an interest bearing account while we wait for the completion? And what would be the rate?
Hmm. So, long story short, 30% is the minimum that I need over construction. Yeah. Anything in addition to the 30%, we can talk about interest credited as a discount. But that comes on a one-on-one basis. I mean, money makes money. 30% is the minimum of what I need. After that, we can again talk about what rates you're getting at the bank versus what rates we can give. But we came up with this wasn't something that we came up with really until we started doing a lot of immigration with you. But
With
it
expat money and me.
Yes, with you being Mikkel,
Yes.
we came up with a program basically for you guys that credits anything on top of minimum down payment. Um, if it can be credited two times. It can be credited up front if you know the full amount that they're going to be paying immediately, or on the back end if you know the funds are going to come during like at a later point. We'll have people that are like, "Hey, I'm selling a house in 6 months. Can we calculate it then?" Yes. So it's not dead money. The only money, the minimum that I need is 30%. After 30%, we can start talking about interest.
Why don't we go back to the slide of the payment terms? I think it's one slide back.
I think so too, but no, I don't
Okay,
know.
so basically, to
Yeah.
participate in this project at the smallest level, okay, for the smallest level would be a $5,000 on a credit card today. Then over the next 15 days, you're going to receive the contract. You're going to go through the contract, okay? And you're going to have to pay up to 10%. So let's say that the unit you charged was $160,000 or $165,000, I think is the smallest unit. Okay. So 10% of that would be 16,500, but you've already paid 5,000. So you would minus that. So 5,000 today, and then within 2 weeks, call it another $11,500. And then nothing. Okay. Then nothing for 6 months. Okay. So over the next 2 weeks, what you need to put together is 16,500, a third of which goes on your credit card. Actually, technically, the entire amount can go on the credit card. I think most people have balances where you can put the whole thing, 16 grand on credit cards, not a big deal. Okay. Then nothing, nada, not one penny for 6 months. Okay. Then you will pay another 10%, which would be roughly 16,500 for the smallest unit. Okay. Then nothing for an additional 6 months. Okay. While this is happening, the building is going up, the foundation is being done, the concrete is being poured, all of these things, the work is being done. Okay. So nothing for 6 months. You're going to pay a final 10%, another 16,500. Okay. And then you're going to relax. You're going to chill out. You're not going to think about this for a year, year and a half, something like that. About a month before they're ready to hand over the keys, a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks before they're going to hand you the keys, you're going to settle the balance. That's the 70% delivery. All right. Now, during that time, Kiley has raised the prices in this building. Okay. She's raised it maybe 10, 20. I have no idea. Okay. I have no idea what it will be raised. Okay. But you're only in on the development for 30%. The 70% comes when the building is finished. That means that your risk is extremely low. Okay. I'll explain how pre-construction works. The biggest risks for pre-construction is the developer not being able to sell enough units and have enough cash for the building. We mitigate that because we are a huge community of strong investors. Okay. So this project is going to be sold out, I would guess, this weekend. All right. Which means that the likelihood of the developer not having the money is like nothing. I mean, because we've already sold it, they need a certain amount to be able to build, and they have these milestones in place. 10% at the contract signing, 10% 6 months after that, 10% 6 months after that, and then you pay the balance at delivery. Okay. And if the building is done and you're ready to take over the keys, you're golden. I mean, it's a very, very nice. How you're going to finance it, what you're going to sell, liquidate this portfolio, retirement accounts. By the way, we didn't even get into yet, Kiley, retirement accounts, IRAs. You can roll over 401ks, self-directed, all of these types of things. You can use those to be able to pay for this building, to
And
be
it's
able to pay
not,
for the investment.
with the right people, it's not a complicated process.
Yep.
Don't try and
Which
do it
we
on your
know.
own because there's a lot of custodians that have no idea how to use it for international, but there's a few really, really good ones that do. Um,
We work
yeah.
with a very good one that you work with. Actually, I think you introduced us the first time, and now we've done tons of business with them. If you guys actually, there's another quick side note. If you guys want to do this through an IRA and you want help through that process, then send us an email, the expat@glp.com.pa, and we'll be able to help you with that. Kiley can make an introduction, or I can make an introduction, and we can walk you through this process. But I just want to be super duper clear. As investors, you only need 30% during the entire time of construction and 70% at delivery. If you're doing immigration, you need to pay for the entire 100%. But if you pay for the entire 100%, then you can have a private conversation with Kiley on how to get that money working for you and a nice little income return. But once again, that's a private conversation.
Something I think that's important to note too, because we look at a lot of these things from a North American perspective. Yeah. I mean, I am where I am in this specific part of the company because I help manage people coming from North America, from Europe. But we have an entire other sector that basically just helps with, if you look at the surrounding countries that are, let's say, not necessarily in turmoil, but that are having issues, right? So Panama's become a plan B for residency, for moving businesses, for all of those different things because of where you're coming from, no? So Panama's not just a plan B for North America. It's not just a plan B for Europe. Panama is a huge plan B right now for, at first it was for Venezuela. Now we're seeing it's a huge plan B for Colombians. It's a huge plan B for Peruvians. Anywhere that is going through something politically around, Panama is kind of that stable place for them to land. So a lot of people are not just relocating their families here, but they're moving businesses. Yeah. Because where they're at is not business friendly, or it's become less business friendly. It's become more um, aggressive with taxes. It's become whatever it is. Or they threaten that, for example, in Colombia, they're not going to be able to take their money out of the country. So what do? They get out before that happens. Yeah. So we're seeing that um, I mention it because as North Americans or as Europeans, we think a lot from our point of view, from our perspective. But Panama is not just growing from us relocating or us investing. It's for the surrounding areas as well. So it's for the surrounding South America, Central America. Look anywhere around the world, and if they're going through something, we have a ton of South Africans here. Um, they like Panama because it's the opposite of where they're coming from. If you're leaving from here for X reason, Panama's the opposite. Yeah. So I think that's important to note because I was looking through some questions about like Panama's projected growth and Panama's like how is it going to mitigate XYZ. And there's so many contributing factors that Panama is usually counter cyclical. Whatever cycle is going on outside, whatever is happening outside, Panama is usually counter to that. It's counter cyclical, yeah. So Panama, I don't think is just on like a short term growth. This is a, unless, God forbid, they change everything overnight and become extremely opposite of kind of their bedrock principles. I mean, I don't see Panama changing in the near future or in the midterm or in hopefully the long term either.
So I think this is an important point. There's okay, anything in the world can happen, okay? But we need to do the best we can with the information at hand. I see sometimes that people don't want to pull the trigger on something because they think, oh, it's not perfect. It's not exactly what I want or any of these types of things. You have to make a decision. You have to move towards freedom. You have to act on the information you have at hand. You have to do the best you can. And we can always tweak. We can always add to. We can always grow. All right. I've moved my family to Panama City. Okay. I've put millions of dollars in here. Okay. I'm moving my head office to this building. There is a reason for that. All right. Sometimes I have Canadians who are like, they're paying like 50 some odd percent tax. The country has gone completely socialist, completely woke, and they're worried because of one small thing that they read about Panama or any country down here that I work in. And it's like you are so far away from freedom where you are living, it's not even funny, okay? And it's like you need to move towards it and don't worry about perfection, okay? Try to get as close as you can, do the best you can, and then we just add to it and we just keep growing it, all right? Now, I really want to stress that, guys. I really, really want to stress that because so many people just sit on their hands and they're fearful, but not our community. Our community is made up of brave individuals who take risks, who dive in head first. And this is because we are stronger together. This is why we do so many live events and trips and tours, and why we're going to have now a physical spot that we can meet up and spend time together and do business and grow our wealth together and see our families grow. It's so, so, so important. So if you're part of this community, I really want to invite you to partake in this project with me because I think it is so, so important. By the way, Kiley, Ulf, I am in. Catherine, I am in. So we've got two more people super, super interested in this. This is awesome. Okay, I had another interesting question that I want to highlight here. So, how did Panama and Panama City fare during 2008 and the worldwide recessions of 2011 and 2012? And how do you expect the area to weather the likely downturn in the next few years? I've referenced its likelihood in many of the email updates. Okay. So, what you have to understand is that Panama does not have a large culture of doing outrageous mortgages. It's really a cash economy. Okay. So people who buy here, they buy cash. because it's not. Also understand, like, Central America is made up of 7 countries. Okay, I've been to all 7 of them many times. Panama is by far the most advanced in these areas. If you look at, neighboring capital cities, they're so low compared to Panama. So there's a lot of wealth in Panama. There's a lot of wealthy Panamanian families here. They're all buying cash. There's expats like us, the freedom community, who is moving to Panama for freedom. But as Kiley mentioned before, there's also a whole host of expats from places like Venezuela, from Bolivia, from Peru. As these countries have gone hardcore socialist, the wealthy and the productive members of society from those countries, they pull their money out of there and they dump it into Panama. This is the first place. We've got the banking district here. We've got over 55 international banks. This is where they're putting their money. And they want tangible assets. So what are they buying? They're buying real estate and they're paying cash for it. So 2008, 2009 happened because people went underwater on their properties. They were getting, zero money down mortgages, or 5% down, or 10% down. And when the market moved more than 10%, they owed more on the property than the property is worth. So what did they do? They mailed back the keys. Okay. That doesn't happen in Panama because the money down, the equity in the property is 100%. So how do you go underwater on a property if you have 100% in the property? It's not possible. So Panama did extremely well during these times. Okay. I want to be in a place which is more fiscally responsible. Now, let's talk a little bit, Kiley, about the new administration, because this definitely feeds into to fiscal responsibility. We had last May a new administration come in. Kiley mentioned in her presentation, there's 5 major parties. Really, any of the 5 we could have got, we're all going to be good. None of them was hardcore commie leftist or anything like that. They're all conservative. They're all right leaning. Just slight differences on how they see conservatism playing out. Let's put a little bit more into tourism. Let's do a little bit more over here. Let's do a little more over there. But none of, like, the weird woke stuff, none of this transgender stuff. That's not on the docket here. Okay. And none of them are socialists. So that's not like a likelihood here. They're not going crazy with lending or spending money like crazy. Maybe, Kiley, you can explain a little bit about the Christmas lights, which was kind of like a really funny one here, to the mayor of Panama City with the Christmas lights and what they spent. Or if you don't want to talk about it, I'll talk about it. And then other ways that the administration here is not just burning money like crazy.
Well, I mean, so he's my neighbor, first of all. He clogs up my street, the president. Which I say that because he lives like very normally. Yeah. Like he's a very normal guy. Um, he has been, he's done what he said he was going to do. Like I would say there's been no surprises, if that makes sense. He kind of came in and he says, I'm going to do this and this and this. And he came in and it might not make people happy, but he did this and this and this. And when I say it might not make people happy, is there were some changes between the Social Security, like when people could apply for Social Security. And it was the last, let's say, 3 presidents kind of kicked it down the road, kicked it down the can down the road and didn't deal with it. And he came in and he dealt with it. And because the Social Security system was not going to have money for retirees, like it was just not going to exist. And so instead of just pretending like that wasn't happening, he dealt with it, and it made some people unhappy because it did a few things that I don't think it raised the age. I'm not exactly sure which small points it changed, but he made it, he corrected the system. Yeah, he made a correction in the system that had been pushed down the road for like at least the last 10 years because the other ones just didn't want to put up with the pushback that they were going to get. Something else that as a North American I think is huge to mention is he ran on one of his like pillars that he ran on was that he was going to close the Darien Gap. So the Darien Gap is basically where all the migrants were coming through Panama, and then they just go straight on through to the US. Yeah, it was like a shuttle service. Um, the day he still had his sash on, I remember the picture. The day he was elected into office, the day like he had his ceremony, with his sash on, he sat down and he signed with the US to close the Darien Gap. And I mean, there was like a main entry portal point, and they closed it. I mean, there's still ways to get through. It's a lot harder to get through, but before it was like a red carpet, kind of laid out, and he literally came in the day he was elected and closed it. Um, I just think it's refreshing to see a president who does what they say they're going to do. And no one really can argue that fact. Yeah.
Big one for me, I was teeing it up for you. So Christmas of last year. So what happens here in Panama is Avenida Balboa, all the parks, everything like that. They would spend millions upon millions of dollars on these Christmas lights, and they were beautiful, but it was all paid for with taxpayer money. Okay, and you know how it is with politicians. There was a lot of kickbacks, and it would be someone's cousin or it would be their neighbor, and they would get these special concessions. Well, Molino came in and said, no more. If you guys want Christmas lights, it's not going to be the taxpayers' money who's going to do it. It's going to be private businesses. Private businesses, you want to do it? It's yours. We ain't spending our money on this. No more waste. And he did it. And he did it. And the private sector stepped up and they did Christmas lights, but it wasn't the taxpayers who had to pay for it. And it was beautiful. It was maybe even more beautiful, but it wasn't with all these kickbacks and waste and stealing and things like that that you see around the world. Okay.
No,
Same
they got to
thing
put
with
their
Carnival.
branding.
Yeah,
They got to put their branding. It was like the Coca-Cola bear for Christmas, but Coca-Cola sponsored this area. Like it was, I would say it had more lights than usual. Like it was
exactly.
phenomenal.
Yeah. And then they do Carnival, which is such a big thing here. Instead of shutting down downtown Panama and the business hub, they moved it out so that business can continue because they're so pro business. They want business to go. And so I like these types of things being in a country where it's like, hey, everybody wants Christmas lights. I want Christmas lights too. I like Christmas, but I don't want to be paying for it through tax dollars and stuff like that. Let's have private companies step up. And they did. And so, this is the opposite of socialism, right? Like, let's lower our taxes to as little as humanly possible. Okay, you need a little bit of taxes. Who's going to build the roads and all of this kind of stuff? All right, fine. Okay, I won't even talk about it. I won't even mention it. But the waste, let's get rid of all of the waste in government. So I think this is a really good thing for Panama. Okay, sorry. I will stop my rant on this one. Let's get back into questions. Okay, I've got um, a very important uh, point by Jonathan, and then I have a practical question. Let's do the practical questions first. Does each unit have its own bathroom, or are they shared per floor?
So with the 40 square meters, the smallest ones have their own bathroom, and as you get larger, they have more bathrooms. Yeah, but each has its own.
Perfect. And Jonathan's very important point, which I didn't mention, is Panama is more fiscally responsible at the political level because there is no central bank of Panama. This is a huge plus for the country. I just read that verbatim from Jonathan, and Jonathan's 100% right. There is no central bank of Panama. There is no central bank. So they can't just turn on the printing press, make more dollars, and spend to their heart's content. All right. Like most countries in the world. In 2024, Panama had the lowest inflation rate of any country in the world. Let that sink in. No central bank at all. That's like if this, when they always say like end the Fed and the Ron Paul movement and things like that. Amazing. Okay. Let's see what other Let's see what other cool questions we got in here. Okay, I've got a couple of Canadians who are asking if they can use RRSPs or retirement accounts for purchasing in Panama real estate. Unfortunately, us Canadians, we lose out. Blame Canada on this. It's only our Americans who can use their retirement accounts to buy international real estate. So I'm sorry about that, but we tried to price this at an attractive model that you can participate with after tax dollars. All right. There's two or three questions on estimated delivery date, please, Kylie.
Estimated delivery date is Q1 of 2028.
Q1 of 2028. Now, Don't let that scare you guys. That will come up very, very fast. And the amount of money that you need to put down on this is very, very little. Okay. Someone's asking, do you think the bank would lend money against the final project to the 70% to be buried, to be borrowed? Yes, we are starting to see some mortgages. Now, you might need to put in a little bit more than 30% down. Like, remember before I was talking about in the US, it's 10% down or something like that. If you're going to be able to get a mortgage in Panama, which we should be able to help, it's probably more likely you're going to need to put down between 30 and 50% of the building. Okay. 50% on the high end, but definitely a minimum of 30%. But if you want to take delivery of it, then it is a possibility. It's just starting now, but it's done in a more responsible manner. They're not going crazy on this, and I don't see them going crazy on the financing, but it is possible now. Let's see. Do you see any questions you want to cherry pick out of here, Kylie?
I saw the one about like a few people have asked about the residential side or the hotel side.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, regardless if it's for residency or not, we had talked about you can do a combination. You could do like an office and a residential unit, things like that. Yes, I still have some availability in residential. Um, if that's interesting though, like we're not going to go into detail on this presentation, but you can still send an email and we'll get in touch with you about the residential side.
Perfect. I had someone else asking on the payment structure, $5,000 down today on a credit card. Within 2 weeks, you're going to go up to 10%. So in our example from before, let's say that it was $165,000 unit. That would be $16,500 minus $5,000 that you already paid. And then there would be nothing for 6 months. Then you would do another 10%, and then nothing for 6 months, and then another 10%. And then you would sit on your hands until delivery, which is when you would pay the final installment right before delivery. Okay. So you just answered that one about the residential. Someone says none of the glp.com.pa links are working. I mean, that's the email address. So I'm sure we're getting emails. We can double check here, Kylie.
I'm getting them.
You're getting them. Okay. So I think it's something on your side because we're getting the emails here.
Well, and I don't think that's a clickable link. I think you have to type in expat at glp.com.pa. Like, I don't know if while I'm presenting, they can click it, you know?
No, no, they can't click that. That's for sure. But in the chat, I put it before, but I'll put it again that
Uh,
you can copy and paste this one or click on it. That's the correct. Yeah, you'll have to copy and paste that into your email browser and then send an email. Uh, okay. Nicole's asking about the residential. Nicole, please send Kylie an email and she'll go through all of the residential with you ASAP. And I will see you this afternoon.
let's see, I think Nicole
Uh,
also has my phone. So you can text me,
yeah,
Nicole.
just send her a WhatsApp message. We'll take care of this. Okay, I'm scrolling back through messages from close to an hour ago, so some of these have been done. Um,
Someone mentioned, I mean, I think comparing the US to Panama in terms of office space, real estate, I mentioned it earlier, but when you look at and find whether it's, I don't know, a local form of news, or I have an Instagram that I subscribe to that I think it's Forbes Latin America, but there's also one that's more Panamanian specific, where I mean I don't read half of it, but because I don't also, love those news, but I do like reading all of the different companies that are relocating to Panama. So when you talk about an office space and how it has been in the US versus here, which I know the US is a lot bigger in terms of comparison, so it varies. But I mean, office space in Panama, look at all the multinationals that keep relocating here for tax incentives and for visas for their people. Because now, if you're an American company or you have, let's say, a regional office in the US, it's getting harder to get Latinos visas to the US. Yeah. So Panama is becoming more and more and more and more popular for many reasons, but visas is also a huge one because they can get their employees in and out of Panama fairly quickly and easily, no? And then the company has tax incentives, the employees have tax incentives, and cost of living for the company usually pays a lot of the cost of living stuff. So they'll pay relocation, they'll pay for the kids' schooling, they'll pay for rental in an apartment, they'll pay for office space, they'll pay for all of these different things. And it's cheaper for the company to do that here in Panama than it is in other places. So find a source of news that you can, just for the fact of seeing all the different companies that keep coming to Panama, because if it's not on a weekly basis, it's on a monthly basis that there's significant in size, in number, size and in number, companies that just keep relocating to Panama.
Okay, absolutely. I think you're 100% right on that. Okay, Daryl would like you to go back to the small unit slide. I think something happened with his internet. So while you're doing that, and then Claudio is asking about, is it possible to buy a living space, an apartment to live in? Yes, Claudio, if you send an email to expat@glp.com.pa, we've got some really good residential ones there. That's a very good option, especially if you want to combine it with the office space. And then before I let you talk through this one, Kylie, someone was asking before if eco villages would be moving. So my very dear friend and business partner, Spencer Hebert, wrote in. He says, Spencer from Eco Villages here. Yes, we are very interested in having our head office there. It would increase our efficiency dramatically to be so close to our partners. Exactly. So we do a ton of business. I'm an investor in their company. I love working with them. They're very, very close friends of mine, all Canadian team. And they're going to have their office there. I'm going to have my office there. Ida, we're going to have her a law office there. So everything is together. GLP, hopefully we'll have an office there. Like Kylie, I'm going to push Alfredo to let you have a little office so we can go for coffee often and everybody together. So it's going to be like this like amazing energy being in the building and we're going to get so much done and so much creative process. You know, another quick side note is I think that what's happening in the world with robotics and AI and all of these new technologies and things like that, the one thing that's not going to go out of fashion, that's not going to get replaced by technology, is still human interaction. We still want to be together. We want to spend time together. There's a magic that happens being in a creative space like this that we can have so many efficiencies in place and new ideas are born and new businesses come out of all of these types of things. So if you guys want to participate in that, then this is an amazing spot to be. So I think people are going to be like fighting to get in this building, honestly. I think they're just going to be fighting to get in. And it's just so awesome. Okay, walk us through the floor plans. Maybe go into a little bit more detail and explain how the map works. Earlier, you said these are not very good renders. I think that's because it's kind of difficult to see, but maybe with a bit of detail, people will be able to
We
envision it.
we made them open. So how they were originally sent to us from the architect. And as I mentioned, because you guys are the first people to get a whack at this, we've been adjusting with the architect until yesterday. So I don't have the final. I should have them over the weekend. But the idea here is, this is the 8 per floor. You have 4 on each side. So how this building sits, how this side of the building sits, you'll have one side that faces the street and one side that faces like an internal green space patio. Yeah. Anyone that would have talked to me about Armonia, you'd have like kind of the two similar views, one that would be street facing and one that would be facing interior to the patio. Each of these 40 square meters or 46 or 42 has its own bathroom inside. As you get going bigger, so as you have less units per floor, you have more restrooms um, per office. Yeah. But I think it's important, and I have different estimated ROIs for the different sizes that we can talk about more like on a one-on-one basis. But here in your mind, the ones that are 40 face out. So those are the ones that face towards the side that say like um, Expat Business Center on the outside. That would be the rendering. And then the ones on the inside, those would be facing towards like a quieter internal patio. Yeah. And if you go downstairs, downstairs is where you have, I mean, I think what's neat about this is if you want to take like a more informal meeting or you want to grab lunch or you want to invite someone to lunch, you will have the resources to do so in the building. You don't have to go waste half the day, get in your car, drive to a coffee shop, or those types of things. It's all going to be in the building. You can go downstairs, meet somebody for coffee. If they're a talker, and you don't want to overcommit on time, you can be like, oh, I gotta run back to the office, right? You don't have to like get in your car, find parking. So again, this is the center of Bay Vista. This will be the heart of Bay Vista. So, but you can see kind of laid out on the left-hand side, there's four, and on the right-hand side, there's four. Yeah. So you have four on both sides of the hallway. And then as you move up, this is small, mid-size, it goes down to two per side. Yeah. And the layouts are flexible. Again, these are examples of how you could put desks, put conference tables, put those types of things. We had an example of like ones with receptions, ones with, as you get larger, like bigger conference spaces, or if you want to have like a projector, those types of things. Um, So this is two per floor, sorry, two per side, four per floor, mid-size, yeah? And then the larger ones would be two per floor, one whole office on each side. I think it's neat too that if you have an office here and you have people traveling international to meet with you, I mean, there's a hotel on site, yeah, which is really convenient as well. And then this would be one per floor. So it has space for reception. Here you would have kind of two different big meeting rooms. You'd have like a conference space, different work areas. And the bathroom for this one is like a men's bathroom and a women's bathroom with like different stalls. But can you see my clicker or no? Yeah. Okay, so three here and three here. And then one at um, these would be more like for use for the workers, and then these would kind of be like attached to reception. Yeah, good.
Yep. What I am planning to do with my head office is to kind of put in a small conference room there as well for my private clients, business class, and first class members. I'm planning on doing a lot more live events, masterminds, bring in special guest speakers. If people are in town and I've got one of my partners, being able to host a special breakfast or a special lunch, have a special one of my lawyers come in and give a presentation on different things, but we needed a place to do that because it's very difficult to organize in Panama private rooms for larger groups. It's fine for like a group of 8 or something or 10, but we're often doing 20, 30 people. So I'm going to be doing a large office, but it's not just desks and computers. It's going to be a full bar, a cigar lounge, a wine room, a library, lots of seating, projector, be able to hold 25, 30 people in there and do special presentations for all the paying members of our community. If you guys are not upgraded yet to a paying membership, there is so much additional benefit that we give to the community, and we're able to serve you guys at a much higher level. If you go to expatmoney.com and go up to the top right hand corner, there's a big orange button that says work with us. Fill out the application at the bottom of that page and figure out how you can become a paying member of the community, because this Expat Business Center is going to change the game. It is going to change everything. It's going to take it to the next level. So you probably want to look at upgrading. Okay, I've gone through, Kiley, and I've kind of cleaned up some of these emails, not emails, some of these messages. And there's a couple of people who really want to see the map again. Can you please bring us to the slide of the map and maybe
Yes.
walk us through in relation where everything is in the area? Okay.
And I just saw a question about a bus stop. So the great thing about the location here is there is a bus stop. One of the main ones along Avenida Balboa is we're a block and a half from Avenida Balboa, and one of the main bus stops is right there along Avenida Balboa. But you also have, so count them, they're these little blue things. You have the Metro Line El Carmen, Metro Line Santo Tomas, Metro Line La Loteria, and then Cinco de Mayo. So you have four metro station stops. You have a bus stop. You have, I mean, from logistically speaking, there shouldn't be an easier place to access in Panama City. Yeah. Um, yeah, logistically speaking, it should not be easier to access than where we are. So from a map, those of you that have been to Panama, depending on where you've stayed, usually I say like, where did you stay? And then I can give reference points from there. But our offices, anyone that has met with me in our offices, are over here in Paitilla. So there's 2 points. Panama comes to 2 points. You have Punta Pacifica, Punta Paitilla, and then Avenida Balboa. Yeah, or the Cinta Costera. And then at the end of it, you have the Mercado de Marisco, you have the fish market, and you have Casco Viejo, Casco Antiguo. Okay. Um, this is considered downtown, like downtown Panama City. Everything that's between the banking district, which would be from Paitilla back, and Casco Antiguo. Yeah, all of this would be considered downtown. Um, you have the park there. I mentioned Parque Araca, this little green spot. You have, I forgot about it. You have Reba Smith. So you have like the OG, the original Reba Smith is here in Marbella. You also have, there's two other small parks, two little green areas. But I mean, from a perspective of accessibility, from a perspective of convenience, from a perspective of also like being able to get outside and exercise and enjoy the space, I don't know a better place in the country, to be honest with you.
100%. We've got another I'm in. I'm very happy to hear that. Congratulations. We're really excited to be working with you on this project. It's going to be amazing. I have another question here from Daryl. Is there a website to look at the floor plans in more details? Actually, Daryl, if you send us an email, we're going to send everything to you in a PDF. So if you send us to GLP expat@glp.com.pa. We will send you everything that we're talking about today. This is actually for everybody. If you guys want to see all the floor plans, the price points, anything like that, anything you want to request information wise, due diligence wise, whatever, you just send us an email. We will absolutely send it over to you. I want you guys to be fully aware about what goes into this project and the investment, how it's structured. If you want a call back, include your phone number and we'll be able to give you a call back. You can answer your questions on the phone. Today is going to be a little bit busy. Today is mostly about pulling out your credit card, doing that fully refundable $5,000 deposit. During that time, you put down the $5,000, you block your spot, and then they prepare the contract for you. You go over the contract, you'll get all your questions answered. If at the end of 2 weeks or even earlier than 2 weeks, for whatever reason you decide it's not for you, you just request a refund and we'll give you the $5,000 back. Kylie, I know you're very fond of saying you're not in the business of people keeping people's reservation fee. That's not what this is about. So, within the 15 weeks, 15 days, it's fully refundable, and we'll work through you on answering all your questions and make sure you know all about the project. Okay. How are schools in Panama? There's 3 questions about schools. I'll just kind of bulk it all together in this one. Kylie?
Okay, so there's various school systems. Okay, you have the like public school Panamanian system, which I would not recommend. It's gotten better because the government is starting to invest more back into like its general school system. You then have private Panamanian, which would be on the school system of their summer is December, January, February. Um, there's some really good, what you call like Panamanian private schools, really good. And then you have international schools, which international would have the summer June, July, August. So what North Americans would be used to. There's also some really good international schools. I have an Excel spreadsheet with donations, with monthly costs, with pros and cons, with whatever. We went into like an extensive research when we were starting to look at sending our kids here. My husband did both. So, or he did the local private Panamanian school, which there's great ones. His brother also did both. So his brother would have been in the system of um, private Panamanian, but also private international. And there's some really, really good schools in both of those sectors. One thing I would say is the country, you don't have those hot topics. In the school systems, you would see this the same. Like most of the schools are generally very conservative, um, because that's the country that they're in. Like maybe even if it's an international school and they have international teachers, it would be like they have to adapt to the school or the country that they're in, right? And my sister's actually a teacher in a local private Panamanian school. So she sees like the inside scoop, no? And I would just say, like any piece of, let's say, wokeism that maybe comes up, because it does, gets squashed. I have seen, let's say, two different examples of it, and it's squashed. Teachers are removed, fired, um, and yeah, kind of made an example of. So that has been, I send my kids to school here really without, thinking twice about it because I'm comfortable. I'm very comfortable with the system. So.
Amazing. So we're approaching 2.5 hours here, guys. I think we'll take the last couple of questions. If you have any important questions that we haven't yet answered, I want you to go ahead and type them in right now. But we're on the last few questions. Also, everybody, I hope you guys have enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned a lot about Panama, and the area and the residency and all these types of things. We tried to give as much value as we could today. We tried to give you as much meat. There's literally been no fluff today. It's all meat in this presentation. If you guys appreciated this and all the work that's gone into the presentation and the project itself, if you appreciate Kiley giving up her Saturday morning to come and talk to us and answer all of our questions on this, as a community, I really want you guys to type in there just to thank you, just to thank you to Kiley and everything that GLP has done for the expat money community. They are our very trusted partners here. We have a really good relationship with them. But part of that is showing a little bit of gratitude and being thankful, because they don't have to do all of these types of things, by the way. They do these types of things because we have a good relationship and we are good investors. We are good clients. We're a good community. So please show Kiley a little bit of love in there. Okay, let's see the last couple of questions in here. All right. Here's a good one from Robert. Is parking a general parking, or are spaces sold separately? How does the parking work, Kiley?
So depending on the size of office that you have, it comes with a specific amount of parking, but parking is included. Yeah.
Perfect. By the way, normally when we're doing projects, parking is extra. And I've seen parking anywhere from $10,000 a slip on the low end to $20,000 on the high end. I think they're usually around 12 and a half to $15,000 per slip. Okay. So you figure if you're spending, money on this, you don't have to add that in additionally. And if people are driving to work, they're going to need that parking. That's already been thought of for you. That's a huge boon for this project. I was actually out with my wife in the vehicle last night, and the traffic was crazy. And I was looking at all these people parking on the streets, and I'm like, the mayor's got to step in and do something about this. I'm not about government going in and enforcing things. I'm very libertarian, but at the same time, the parking on the streets got to be taken care of. And I think it's going to happen. So, having a dedicated parking spot in a modern building with real ramps and security on site and everything like that is a game changer in Panama, because we just don't have enough parking at all.
I see a question that I want to answer. Someone's asking if it's pooled, if the returns and costs are pooled, or if this is individual. This is all very much individual. Anything we do would be rental, we call it rotation. I mean, we have the service of like finding a renter and then managing the rental. But none of this is pooled. It's not pooled costs. It's not your costs. combined with someone else's and returns combined with someone else's. It is something titled in your name or in your corporation or in your foundation, and the returns are yours and your costs are yours. Yeah.
Definitely. We do titled properties, only titled properties. No leasehold, no Mexican bank trust that owns it and that you have to have a special contract with them. None of this. This is titled property, freehold. All right. Everything I do is freehold. Very, very important. Okay. Don't have any money to invest, but learned much from this informative session. Also on the side, used to the time to look for jobs in music in Panama and actually sent out an application. That's awesome, Randy. That's fantastic. I hope to see you down here. And the more cool people we can bring to Panama, the better. I mean, that's what it's all about. Okay, Mitchell, I think the question on parking was just answered, but if not, then send Kylie a message. And okay, so I think we're good for questions. Just a couple quick ones here. Sharon says, so impressive how much thought has been put into this opportunity. Well done, Mikkel and Kylie. Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate that. Sounds like a good project. Thank you for the in-depth explanation. I will send an email. Amazing. Thank you for the in-depth presentation. Thanks, Kylie from Spencer. Thank you, Kylie! Exclamation. Looks good. Lots of work to put on a project like this together. Thanks, Daryl. Appreciate it. Thank you, Kylie, GLP, and Mikkel! Exclamation, exclamation from Amber. Thank you so much. Exclamation, exclamation from Anna. Marcel's, thank you, Kylie. Great presentation, exclamation. Thank you, Kylie and Mikkel from Ryan. Baucom says, thank you so much for this project. Thanks so much for the presentation. You both are amazing. And we are in Panama and so fortunate to have you. Yes, Baucom, I'm looking forward to seeing you. Let me know. Send Susan a message when we're going out for dinner. And it'd be great to see you. And then I think I will see you on the trip in a couple of months as well. I'm looking forward to spending time with you guys. And maybe we'll go play paddle or we'll go running or something. It'd be awesome.
Welcome. I just
Okay.
told a story about you the other day. Someone was asking if you can free water swim at the beach, and I was like, well,
Hmm.
yeah,
We know someone. We're all
we
out
know.
having like pizza or something like that, sitting on the beach. And Anna's like, she's like, oh yeah, if you look out at that speck out there, that's Baucom. And we're like, what? Like he's like
We're
one of
like,
the most
it's
amazing
getting
athletes
dark.
I've ever seen.
It's
Yeah.
getting dark. And she's like, ah, it doesn't phase him.
Baucom's the best. Okay. Thank you for the informative presentation. Well done, Kylie and Mikkel. Is the parking separately needed? Okay, so the parking is going to be included. There we go. Thank you from Brad. Thanks. Looking forward to it. Very impressive. Thank you very much. Stoked, all capitals. I was the second credit card putter downer. Amazing, Nicole. That's awesome. I'm excited for you. This is going to be awesome. Julia says, thanks, guys. Love you. Love you guys too. Amazing. Carla says, thanks very much. I've already reserved.
Hi,
Awesome.
Carla.
Beautiful. And look, 2.5 hours on the button. Kylie, amazing day, amazing presentation. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for giving me your time and your attention. We tried to over deliver. We tried to give it everything we've got, lots of energy. We put everything we could into this presentation. I'm so excited about the project, and it doesn't end here. If you have decided that you're going to be investing alongside me in this, I will have my head office there. I will be part of the process of bringing in the tenants into our building. I've already started contacting a lot of the lawyers and accountants and people I work with here. They're all excited about this project. I'm going to be with you every step of the way. I am so passionate about this building. I think I'm just so pumped about it, Kylie. I've never felt this much excitement for something because like I helped design this. Like it's the Expat Business Center. Where do you think the word expat came from? Okay. This is purpose built for us. Kylie, final thoughts? Anything you want to leave our community with before we stop for today?
No, thank you guys for giving me your Saturday morning. I appreciate it a lot. And if you guys need a gift for Father's Day or you want to treat yourselves, $5,000 on a credit card and you can have an office.
There you go. Send an email, expat at glp.com.pa if you want more information. If we didn't get to your questions, I'm super sorry. I tried to answer every question I could. If I missed some, I absolutely apologize to you, but no problem. You send us an email. We'll get that back. If you want to go through the spreadsheets with Kiley, awesome. Make sure your phone is turned on, include your phone number, tell us what you're interested in, wait for a callback. Kiley's going to have a very busy day in front of her for the rest of the afternoon making phone calls. But that's it, everyone. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks.